Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a new palette from Winky Lux. This is the Latte Kitten palette. This is like the new little sister to one of my favorites, the coffee palette. If you watched my best palettes of 2018 video, then you already know how I feel about this palette. I really enjoyed it. I do think this is a very underrated palette, and when I saw that the coffee palette was getting a sister, I knew that we had to talk about it on this channel. I really wanted to test it. This did appear in my May favorites. I spoke about how I like to use this as a companion palette to the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette. So let me give you a little bit of info on this. I am going to talk about this in comparison to the coffee palette. We're going to do swatches. We're going to do a tutorial. We're just going to do it all. Why not? The Latte Kitten palette is currently available. You can find it at Ulta as well as the Winky Lux website. I know several other retailers also carry this brand, so I will look around and see who else has this palette, and if I can find it anywhere else online, I will link it in the description box for you. It's priced at $25 US. There are 9 eyeshadow shades in here. 3 of the shades are mattes and 6 are shimmers. The outer packaging is a heavy duty cardboard and it does have a magnetic closure. The cover is very classic Winky Lux design. They always mix this very beautiful floral. They do have more of a muted color scheme, and they throw in a lot of really cute details. On this palette, it's these little kittens in coffee cups. I mean, come on, this is just so cute. It's very unique. That's one of the things I love about Winky Lux, is they have a very unique aesthetic. You recognize their style from a mile away, and I really like that. When we look inside here, the packaging has gotten an update. First of all, there is a mirror in this palette, which there was not in the coffee palette. And we also have shade names inside next to the pans. This is a detail that I love. We also did not have this in the coffee palette, so I think that these updates really are nice. On the back of the palette, you do see the shades pictured with their shade names. I do want to point out down here, this palette is cruelty-free, paraben-free, and gluten-free. Let's go ahead and take a look at the swatches of this palette. I am going to show you both finger and brush swatches. The swatches will be done on the inside of my arm with no primer down first. On top, you'll see the finger swatches, and then below will be the corresponding brush swatch. It's a miracle when I say brush swatch on the first try. As always, for my brush swatches, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'll clean the brush off in between each shade using my Viramono color switch so that there's no transfer between shades. Here are the swatches. Again, on top are the finger swatches, and then below are the brush swatches. Very impressed with how these perform on the brush. I think they look just as good, if not better, than the finger swatches. Even the metallics are just really rich with a completely dry brush. Now that you've seen the swatches, let's jump into a really quick, easy, warm, neutral eyeshadow tutorial using this Latte Kitten palette, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I'm starting off just like I always do by priming my lids with my MAC paint pot in the shade Painterly. Then I set that eye base with just a little bit of setting powder to get us started. Next, I'm going to take Brulee as my transition shade, and I'm just going to build that into the crease. This is such a perfect transition shade for me, just a little bit of a pinky beige. Next, I'm going to take the shade Cinnamon, and using a small detail fluffy brush, I'm going to build that up on the outer part of the eye and blend that up into the crease just a little bit. Next, I'm going to take Sugar Crystal, and using my finger, I'm going to apply that to the very inner corner of the eyes. Then for my lower lash line, I'm mixing Brulee and Cinnamon on a small flat brush and just really blowing that out along the lower lash line. For my all over lid color, I'm taking Hazelnut, again just applying that with my finger and filling in the rest of the space there on my lid. Next, I'm going to take the shade Honey Lavender, and on a flat brush, I'm going to use that to blend together the shimmer shade on my lid and that bright inner corner highlight just for more pop in that inner eye area. And lastly, taking Brulee for one little blend around the crease area. And I did use cinnamon to darken up the outer corner just a little bit more. Then I curled my lashes and added my L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. That is my finished look. I know this is super simple. There's not really any cutting edge look that's going to come out of this palette. But at the end of the day, I really like how this turned out. I like the way these shadows wear, and this is the kind of look that's going to be an easy go-to for me day to day. First of all, I want to say I like this palette. I don't like it as much as I like the coffee palette. I do prefer this more as a companion palette to something that's a little bit more colorful. This has a lot of staple shades, but they're more toned down, they're a little bit more muted, so this makes a great companion palette, especially because for me, I love a really bright inner corner highlight, and there are two great inner corner highlighting shades in here. This would probably make a great one as well. All three of the matte shades in here, because they are very mid-tone mattes, these are all going to be really good go-to crease shades for me, so I can pair this up with any palette that's lacking those two staples, an inner corner highlight and just a matte transition shade. This is going to be so useful for that because that's basically all this palette is. Part of the reason I don't like the Latte Kitten as much as I like my coffee palette is because I feel like it's lacking some depth. So the eyeshadows still perform really nicely for me. I do like all the shades. They're very just basic go-to shades. I don't have a problem with that. I love a basic eyeshadow palette. So I think as long as the shades perform well, they last well on the eyes, I don't have a problem with it. But this coffee palette is also very basic. I just think it has a lot more depth. When you look at these two side by side, you can really see what I'm talking about. The coffee palette, first of all, is a lot more neutral, just overall more neutral, whereas the Latte Kitten palette definitely has some warm and some cool tones, and the coffee palette just really goes a lot darker in shades, so I think that it's going to be more versatile, more useful for people with deeper skin tones. And man, overall I just prefer the shades in here. I just prefer those qualities that the coffee palette has. Overall, I like it. I just don't feel that it stands on its own as well as the coffee palette does. I love the packaging updates. I love that we got a mirror in here. I love that the shade names are in here and that the lid folds all the way back. So I find this very easy to use compared to the coffee palette where the lid doesn't fold all the way back. The lid, oh, I guess it does. It does kind of fold back, but it's a lot harder. When it comes to packaging, I've already said I really like the Winky Lux packaging. We did get this fancy like foiled metallic detailing on the front of the Latte Kitten palette, so I think that's really nice. It definitely makes the palette feel more special, more luxurious, so that's just a little detail, but it's something that I like, so felt that it was worth pointing out. Although, I mean, come on, these little coffee cups are so cute. The Latte Kitten palette is still coffee scented, but I feel that the coffee palette has a lot stronger fragrance to it than this one does. This is much softer. I kind of have to like get my nose in there and really sniff to pick up that coffee scent, whereas with the coffee palette, as soon as I open it up, I just have that like wafting coffee roasted smell, which I really, really like. But I know a lot of you guys are sensitive to fragrance or just prefer not to have fragrance in your makeup. So I did want to point out, yes, this is scented, but it's a lot less strongly scented than the coffee palette. Obviously it says coffee scented right here. I mean, right there. If you're in the market for some shimmery light and mid-tone shadows, this is the palette for you. I do think it's a really good palette. I just don't feel that it stands on its own quite as well as its big sister, the coffee palette. I would love to hear what you guys think about this one. Is it on your radar? Are you just drinking in the coffee scented makeup like I am? Drinking it in, get it? Get it? That was a pun. I always love to hear your opinions on things too, so make sure you leave a comment, let us know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. If you watched my 20 best... Ma'am? Obviously it's from Winky Lux, you just said that. Are you done? And in my we're gonna do You're doing a great job, it's fine. I just stuck my fingernail right in that eyeshadow. Whatevs. Oh man, I've got 1,000,001 things to do. And I don't have any time left to do it. That's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't even worry about it. Great. Okay. All right. It's super windy outside. Could you hear wind the whole time? I hope not. Okay. Gotta go film another video real quick. Okay.